What is up, everybody? I hope you are having a fantastic evening. And it's Monday night, which means we review film on Monday. Last 2 weeks, we stuck with the defense. The reason being is against the Rams, I really felt like the defense was a big reason as to why they lost that game. And I felt like they didn't do a good job of disguising coverages, disguising blitzes, giving simulated pressures, or even blitzing in general. Last week, we watched the film defensively again against the Patriots, and it was much improved. Now, I am curious to see what it looks like this week. Definitely curious to see what it looks like this week, but I'm more curious to watch the offensive film because I think for the first week all season, we can put a big chunk of this game on the offense. Not that the defense was perfect. Not that the defense was perfect. I understand they were not. But the offense scored 0 points in the second half and really were only responsible for about 13 points because 3 points came from a Bosa interception where they were already in field goal range. And then a touchdown came off of a blocked field goal. So that was the special teams. The offense really struggled yesterday, especially in the second half, and they got away from the run game. They threw the ball a ton. And so I think this week we're going to review the offensive film. But I also want to say this. I put the description in there. Excuse me. I put the title in there that we're reviewing the All-22. But I want to be very clear. If you're like one of those guys that just gets triggered at my opinions over Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan, and you're like one of those guys like, oh, you're just a Grant Code Jr., whatever it is, like you just get super frustrated by me, definitely don't watch this show. I'm just being real with you. I'm giving you the warning now. I don't have it in me to go back and forth. I'm just going to say what I got to say. We're going to watch the film together. I'm going to give you stats throughout the show that are not favorable, I believe, to either one of them. And also what I'm not saying is that it can't be turned around or that Kyle's not a good coach and Brock's not a good quarterback. But right now there's some damning evidence on film and some damning stats that are saying it's not going well right now and it needs to be improved. So if you get frustrated by just that conversation or the thought of that conversation, this is not the show for you. I'm just being real. This is not the show for you. That being said, for those of you that this is the show for, I want to make sure that I thank you for being here and I let you know that we're going to hit this intro and we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, it is a film review night. Z4900. Appreciate you for being here. You might want to tune out. I'm just being real. The whole O-line thing is so debunked by not only film, we've been watching it every week, but statistics. And I'm going to debunk the hell out of the offensive line being an issue in pass protection. Just letting you know, you can stick around. I would love for you to, but you might be frustrated with this one. I'm just keeping it honest. Just keeping it honest. Okay. Let's talk about it. Let's get into the film first. And I want to be clear. I have not watched the film. I do this every week. And every week, I think outside of one, I think I watched defensive film 2 weeks ago, or part of it before I went on live, but I don't watch the film prior because I want a genuine reaction. I want an honest reaction. I want to rewind it and fast forward it and do all the things together. But I do know that there's one play in particular, and it's the very last play of the game where Brock Purdy threw the interception and the game was over. A lot of people were killing Jordan Mason over that play. Now, I did not see it on film, but I saw the replay of that play. People are misplacing their frustration on Jordan Mason. That play was not Jordan Mason's fault at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this. We'll start with that play, and then we'll work all the way back to the beginning and start from the beginning. But I think for those of you that may not tune in long, or you have something to do, I get it. These things are not short. These things take time. So I don't expect anybody to stick around the whole time. But I want to be clear. Jordan Mason is not to blame for this final pass protection breakdown. Okay. I think schematically there was an issue here, in my opinion. So that would be on Kyle. And I think Brock Purdy just overlooked a wide open check down. Okay. But Jordan Mason, he fumbled the drive before. Sure. We'll go over that. But a lot of people were very, very, very frustrated with him on that final play, Jordan Mason. I think it's completely misplaced. It is not Jordan Mason's fault. And we'll start with that. And then, like I said, we'll go back to the very, very beginning and we will watch it from there. Okay. All right, here we go. So this was the end of the game. I want you to pay attention here. Jordan Mason's going to have two guys run free right at him. Now, most players, offensive linemen, tight ends, wide receivers, running backs, fullbacks, whatever, that are blocking, they're supposed to take the inside most threat, meaning the guy that is the closest to getting to the quarterback, the most inside guy closest to the quarterback is the guy that you block. And that's what Jordan Mason does here. Unfortunately, there's a guy next to him that timed the blitz very well. He's further outside, and he just shoots through there and gets right to Brock. Okay, so let's watch it here. We'll watch it first one time. Okay, you got two guys blitzing right here. 1, 2. This is your biggest threat because he's closest to the quarterback. This is the guy that Jordan Mason should pick up. And he does. He does. He picks him up. This guy comes through scot-free because what they did is they brought a late blitz, well-timed blitz. So the offensive line didn't realize the pressure was coming. You got two guys, Banks and Brendel, double teaming over here. You really had 6 guys to block, and you had 6 guys coming in. But because the protection wasn't called right, because of a late blitz that they didn't expect to come, Jordan Mason is left to pick up 2 guys. And he picks up the innermost defender, which is the right thing to do. And this player comes free. And I think people watching it live were very frustrated with Jordan Mason not picking up the blitz. They felt like there was just a guy that came through scot-free and Jordan Mason missed him. And that was not the case. He had 2 guys and he had to choose one, and he chose the innermost guy, which is what he's taught to do. He did the right thing. See that? Jordan Mason picked up a guy. He did what he was supposed to do. We'll watch it one more time in real time, and then I want to talk about something schematically that I feel like is an issue here. Okay. So now that we've seen it, Jordan Mason in real time does a good job. We're going to watch it from another angle. And I want to say, here, let's see the other angle here. We can watch it from this angle. We can watch it from every view that you want. But the other thing schematically that I feel like is an issue is that you're already in shotgun. Why are you asking your quarterback to take a 5-step drop out of shotgun? You're already back. So design-wise, shouldn't this be like either a turn and fire or a 3-step, I almost said 3-step Brock, which would be apropos, a 3-step drop? Why is he taking a 5-step drop out of this? That's a design flaw on the play. In my opinion, it's a design flaw. I feel like that's excessive. You're already in shotgun, okay? Now, the other part is this. Dante Whitner talked about it, and I agree. Usually when somebody comes free, if in a situation where you have more blitzers, than you do guys to block. When you're hot, that's on the quarterback. Dante Whitner talked about it. Kyle Shanahan even talked about it today. Brock's got to know that he's hot here, and he's got to get rid of the ball quicker, which means he shouldn't be looking downfield at Brandon Ayuk at the deep route. He's got to be looking at George Kittle right here. He's got to be looking at George Kittle, who's open, and we'll see it from the other angle. In fact, we'll just rewatch it all right here. Let's go from the beginning. He's looking at this route right here, when really he's got to know he's hot, and he's got to throw it to Kittle here. Now, what I think happened is, yes, Brendel screws up the protections. Yes, Brock doesn't know he's hot. Yes, it's a 5-step drop for no reason out of shotgun. All those things are true. Also, what's true? The Arizona Cardinals get paid to play football as well. This defender times this blitz so well that I think all of your fail-safe things that you have in place to stop this from happening get beat by a better scheme and a well-timed blitz. And I think that sometimes is just the case. Look at the timing of this guy here blitzing. I mean, phenomenal. You couldn't time it any better. If I went frame by frame, the moment that ball is snapped is probably the exact moment, frame for frame, that he's blitzing. Look at this, man. Snap, gone. Look at how quickly he gets in there. How well-timed that is. I mean, that's just a great job by him. Great job. So, with that being said, don't blame Jordan Mason because he did what he was supposed to do. You can probably be frustrated with Brendel a little bit. You can be frustrated with a 5-step drop out of shotgun. That's on Kyle Shanahan. And you can be frustrated that Brock Purdy was hot and didn't look for the check down. But really, I think ultimately you probably got to give praise to the Arizona Cardinals and number 34 here for timing this split so perfectly that nobody knew what was actually about to happen. And I think that's the reality of the situation. But really, my agenda here was not to blame anybody. It was to exonerate Jordan Mason because people are killing him for no reason whatsoever. He doesn't deserve it. He did the right thing. Okay, so let's stop crushing Jordan Mason for that right there, that blitz pickup. He did what he was supposed to do. He had 2 free rushers. He chose the inside most guy, and that's what he's taught to do. He did the right thing. So it's not Jordan Mason's fault. So now that we're beyond that, let's start from the beginning of the game, and we are going to watch play by play. All right? One of the few times that you're going to get shotgun 5-step drop or 7. I keep saying 5-step Brock or 7-step drop. But it actually happens here. Now, here's another thing. When we talk about Brock Purdy and we talk about arm strength, people love to point out his deep ball and be like, well, so much for lack of arm strength. Brock Purdy just completed the ball 50 yards downfield. What do you have to say now? That's not arm strength. That's what I have to say. Arm strength is exactly what I've always said it is, and I've been consistent. You can go back 2 years, okay? Arm strength is the ability to throw a 10 to 20 yard out from far hash to outside the numbers and drive that ball into a tight window. That is arm strength. This throw right here shows off arm strength or lack thereof for quarterbacks since the beginning of time. That is arm strength, not distance. Every quarterback in the NFL could throw the ball 40, 50 yards in the air. Every quarterback can do that. Now, some do it more accurately. Brock does it pretty accurately, actually. I think Brock does a great job with the deep balls. But that is not arm strength. Arm strength is far hash, outside the numbers, 10 to 20 yards downfield, out patterns, and fitting the ball in a tight spot. Can you get it there or can you not? Can you do it consistently or can you not? Not short hash, right? You've got two hashes here. Not short hash outside the numbers. So here's another thing people love to do. They love to point out, oh, well, this quarterback has a weak arm. How come he completes X amount of passes outside the numbers? Well, how many of those passes are 10 plus yards downfield? And how many of those passes are far hash out? That is the arm strength test. Not inside hash, not outside the numbers, not 50 yards downfield. That is not the test. Far hash, outside the numbers, 10 to 20 yards. Let me be crystal clear about that. Now, I'm not saying, I don't know that I've ever said Brock Purdy's arm is a major issue. I've just strictly said he doesn't have the strongest arm, and that is clear. Throws like this highlight that. But coming out of college, when I had Brock as a third round prospect, the reason I didn't have him as a first or second round prospect, never once did I say he's too small and he doesn't have a strong enough arm. That was not the reasoning for that. The reason I had him as a third round prospect and not a first or second was because I thought his decision making was sketchy. I thought he had sketchy decision making and he played hero ball too much, which ironically is what he's starting to do right now. And I don't like what I see. Okay. But sometimes arm strength does show up, and this is where it's going to show up. Okay. That's a power throw. That is a power throw. And you either have it in your bag or you don't. Okay. Now, it's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean Brock sucks. Doesn't mean Brock can't be successful. It just means sometimes on the power throws, it will show up from time to time. But that is not going to stop Brock Purdy from being a good quarterback in the league. Let me be very crystal clear about this. I'm going to be as crystal clear as I can all show. And I know things will still get misconstrued because they always do. But I'm going to try to do my best to be clear about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. Okay? All right, let's go. Okay. Now, going back to week 2, I also want to say this. People were very frustrated when I said that I felt like all 6 sacks that game were on Brock Purdy. Now, some people disagreed. There was a sack where I could have seen it go either way, either the offensive line or Brock. But against Minnesota, I felt like most of those sacks, at the very least, were on him. Now, PFF agreed. They had 4 of the 6 sacks on Brock. But since week 2, I've been saying, I feel like the offensive line has pass protected very well. Talked about it in the preseason a little bit. Talked about it, I think, week 1 and week 2. For sure, talked about it week 2. Statistically, that all is backed up, by the way. But this is not because I saw the stat today that I believe this. You can go back to the film review week 2, and I talked about how well I thought the pass protection has been holding up. And I felt like that all season. I feel like he's had time. Now, I'm going to give you stats later on in the show that are going to back that up. Multiple stats from multiple sources, just so that we're clear. But the offensive line is not only doing better than what people think, better than expected, they're actually doing it at a top 10 clip and maybe closer to top 5, as odd as that sounds. I know that's hard to believe because the offensive line hasn't been good, but that's just the reality right now. Okay. But what I can say is Brock Purdy, so far on his throws, or his dropbacks rather, has had some good time. We're only 2 plays in, so that may change. But going to past weeks, that has been the case. And very, very early on in this, that is the case. All right. Now, I am curious, what does Brock see when he looks to the right here? Yeah, nobody's open. He makes the right decision. Take off, run. Again, offensive line held up. Receivers didn't get open. Zero issue with him taking off there. He could have waited for juice potentially. Let's see how well the offensive line held up. I mean, they definitely gave him the 2+ seconds that is expected. It is somewhat of a clean pocket, so maybe you can nitpick and say, hey, listen, juice is open over the middle. But he had 2 receivers over here. He read 1 and 2. He didn't like it, and he bailed. Zero issue with that play. But the offensive line does do a good job there. They held up. Kyle's an idiot. Yeah, he did. There's a lot of times throughout this game, man, he does people dirty. I will say that. He definitely does people dirty. Again, that's 2. We're 2 for 2. 2 for 2, clean pockets, power throws, and he can't get it there, man. He struggles with that throw. I mean, you got to have some real zip, real power in that arm to make that throw. That is a tough throw to make, a very tough throw. And there's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that cannot make it consistent and on time and accurate with the power. It's not an easy throw to make. It really isn't. I don't care how open the player is. That is not an easy throw. Far hash outside the numbers. Nope. Okay, by the way, also, let's point this out. We're 4 plays, okay? We are 4 plays into this game, okay? They haven't ran the ball once. They haven't ran the ball once. All right? And again, you can talk about how crappy the O-line is. Statistically, there's nothing that backs that up. And on film, there's nothing that backs that up. It's just not true. It's a talking point based off of how we felt about the offensive line in the past, where it probably was true, both on film and statistically. And the thought coming into this season was they didn't improve the offensive line the way that they needed to, which I was definitely a part of that talking point. But Purdy being injected into this offensive line, how well it's worked statistically and on film, this offensive line has done a really, really good job. A really good job protecting Brock Purdy. It just has. Now, it's easy to say, oh, well, the offense is struggling or Brock's struggling, so offensive line, and everybody's going to go, yeah, offensive line. I mean, they've sucked for years. Why? Yeah, we believe that. We believe that. But that's why we're doing the work. That's why we're watching it. You tell me which play the offensive line hasn't done a good job in his 4 dropbacks so far. You tell me. And there we go. Now, this time, on the 3rd time, Brock does a great job getting the ball there. Here's the difference, though. Look at how early he's throwing the ball. If Brock doesn't throw this ball with anticipation, he's not going to get it there. He doesn't have it in his bag. The other 2 throws, he was waiting till those players were out of his break. This is when Brock is at his best. When he's seeing the field clean and just throwing with anticipation, throwing before these guys are out of their breaks, this is like his superpower, man. This is what he does so good. This is when Brock is at his best. But so far this season, Brock he's just not seeing the field as clearly as he has in the past. These throws are still happening throughout games, but they're fewer and further between. I felt like last year you would watch film And Brock, 90% of Brock's throws are like, oh, he's throwing the ball before this guy's even thinking of coming out of his break. And it looks amazing and it's poetic when everything is working. When he hits that back foot, he sees it, he uncorks it, guy comes out of his break, boom, catches it. Now he's got an opportunity for yak and all, everything that goes along with that. This year it's different, man. Something is not right. And we talked about it during the Minnesota game, how repeatedly he was looking at the open player. He was hitting his back foot and then he would hitch or he would double pump or what have you and walk himself into sacks. That is not what Brock Purdy does. That is not why people have given Brock Purdy all this credit, and deservedly so, for being a good quarterback. What makes Brock so good is this right here. The problem is this, instead of being 90% of the time, has become a rarity in his game, starting with week 2. This is the issue. He's just not seeing it the way he saw in the past. Or he is seeing it and he's not believing it. I don't know what's going on. But the protection is not the issue, man. It's not. He's protected 4 for 4. We've had good protection. If you throw the ball 34 times and you're protected well, 28 to 30 of them, without having to make something happen, man, the offensive line is doing what they need to do. And because he sees it early and he makes the read, boom, he can complete it. The arm strength is not an issue if you're anticipating at the level that he anticipates here. Yak happens when you anticipate at the level he anticipates here. This is a beautiful read and a beautiful throw, but man, it just hasn't been there consistently for him. And he has to do this, especially when he's making these throws, because we saw from the other angle. Listen, we saw from this angle how early he uncorks this ball. But because his arm isn't the strongest, if he doesn't read it early, look, he's already in his throwing motion. Ayuk hasn't even turned around, but when you see from the other angle, Ayuk's like way over here and turned around and everything. If he's a half a second late, he doesn't have the zip to get it there. This is what he has to do. This is what makes Brock special. You understand me? He literally is thinking in the middle of his throwing motion. Ayuk takes, watch what Ayuk does here. He takes like 2 more steps upfield, then rounds off his route and cuts out and meets the ball way over here. That's when Brock's at his best. You understand me? That's when Brock's at his best. And this right here, this is why I made the name of the show what it is. Because people can't let this shit go. Okay? I was wrong about Trey Lance. I've said it a million times. And because it will make you feel better, I will say it again. But that doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm watching when it comes to other things. I've been right about CJ Stroud before he came out. I was right about Herbert. I was right about Allen. Okay? I've been right about a lot of quarterbacks. I was right about Zach Wilson. I was right about I almost said Mac Dre. What's his name? Back up in Jacksonville. Anyways, 100 mil, that guy. I was right about him. I was right about Justin Fields. Right? I missed on Trey Lance. Nobody's 100% right. I was wrong about Trey Lance. But even Brock Purdy, I have receipts that show me talking about him 2 years before he was drafted. And I had him as a 3rd round prospect. I just don't think he's elite. So if the conversation is, hey, he's better than Trey Lance and he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo, you're right. You won. But that is not enough to be a franchise quarterback. That is not enough to pay $60 million to. I have not once blamed Brock Purdy for any loss this season solely. Okay, they've lost 3 times. In fact, he's been pretty far down the list up until this game. But there are two seasons that are happening here, and people need to understand what is happening. We have the season, which we are trying to figure out, can the 49ers make this last gasp effort and win a Super Bowl? That is the season. And within that, we're trying to figure out when they lose, who's to blame. Okay. And week 2, it was the special teams. In week 3, it was Ayuk and the defense and the special teams. This week, I put it on the offense. Brock Purdy is the guy at quarterback. He's going to get a big chunk of this, but he's not the only thing. But within that game or within this season is another game or another season. And that is, what does the future of this team look like? Regardless of what happens this season, what does the future of this team look like? And the future hinges a lot on what Brock Purdy is or is not. Is he worth $60 million? Is he worth $55 million? Or is he not? So when we talk about Brock, or when I talk about Brock, I'm not even necessarily talking about is he to blame or not to blame for an individual game or how this season goes. I'm talking about Brock on is he worth that money? Now, if you want to talk about Trey Lance, who's been gone for 2 years, and hold me accountable for something that I've already said that I was wrong about, then you do that. But we as a fan base should be past the Trey Lance era. We're 1 year or less than a year from making a decision on if this guy deserves to be the franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. And just because he's better than Trey and just because he's better than Jimmy, that does not also make it true that he is that guy either. He's just better than those guys. One of them is a third string quarterback. The other one's a second string quarterback and really might not even be good enough to be in this league. In fact, both of them might not be good enough to be in this league. So yes, you are right. A starting quarterback in this league is better than Trey Lance and better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Does that make you feel better? But does that mean that he's worth $60 million? Does that mean that every take that somebody who really liked Trey Lance had is null and void forever? Is that the conversation? Because if it is, then stop watching. Stop watching, because I'm going to give my opinion every week. Every week, my opinion will be given on the coaches, the players. That includes the quarterback of this team. You understand? So if we're still stuck on 2 years ago and takes from 2 years ago, then this is not going to be the place for you, because we're past that. But once again, I will say it for anybody who hasn't heard, even though I've said it a million times over, I was wrong about Trey Lance. We're moving on, though. All right? It's the reality of the situation. I was wrong about Trey. I've been right about a lot of quarterbacks, and I have receipts on all of it. Nobody's 100% right. Nobody. But that doesn't mean that we can't evaluate the situation at hand. And what we're evaluating today has nothing to do with Trey Lance, has nothing to do with Jimmy Garoppolo, has everything to do with the 49ers and why they're losing. And is Brock Purdy worth $60 million? That's what matters. You dig? All right. Let's do it. By the way, are we over the heat for Brandon Ayuk yet? Because he balled yesterday. Brandon Ayuk played a really, really good game. Really, really good game. So hold on. How many was that? Play 4? Is that what we said? That was play 4. So we're 4 plays in and we still haven't ran the ball once. You know what that reminds me of? Remember the way they started the second half in the Super Bowl, where it was like 6 of the first 7 plays were pass plays? We're now 5 plays in and still haven't ran the ball. This reminds me of the third quarter in the Super Bowl, where they just went pass heavy, pass heavy, pass heavy for seemingly no reason, really. Was that Debo's only catch of the game, by the way? He only had one catch, did he not? And he had a couple runs. I think that's his only catch of the game. And it happened on drive 2. Yikes. Yeah, he did. He did almost take that one to the house for sure. All right, here we go. 7th play of the game. We're running the football. Woo. Let's do it. 7th play of the game. We're running the football. Or 6th play. Maybe it was the 6th play. So they went 3 and out. He had the throw to Ayuk, the throw to Debo. So 5. Yeah, maybe it was the 6th play. Either way, pretty far into the game to just start running the ball. Ah, 34. Hey, same dude that had the game-winning play, right? The blitz. Hey, he made some plays that game, yeah? Because that's a pretty good throw from what I'm seeing. That's a good throw. And Kittle last week mossed 2 different guys. 34, man. He makes the final play of the game that we started the show with. And he makes this play here, which turned 7 into 3. Credit to 34, man. He's a big reason why they won that game. A huge reason why they won that game. Wow. Oh wait, did they score a touchdown here? If they score a touchdown, I guess it's null and void. I don't remember. I feel like they didn't though. Yeah, they didn't. Okay. So yeah, 34, man. First drive of the game, keeps 7 off the board, and then final drive, final play. It's a big reason why they won. See, okay. Also, hold on, let me see this play again. Okay, never mind. I thought Debo was on the inside and made an outbreaking route. I talked about it week 1, how much I hated that design of a play from Kyle. I don't like it though. I still don't like it. Still not a fan of these guys doing outbreaking routes. I love everybody kind of working towards the middle, going across the face of the quarterback, and then creating a scramble drill. Worst case scenario, but whatever. Such is life, I guess. It was worse in the Minnesota game. I felt like it was more egregious, but still not a fan of it personally. Still not a fan of it. What we got here? Dave says, fire Lyle Levy, no trade. Fire before the Seagulls GM. Or Seagulls game. Not going to happen. And I don't think he needs to be fired per se, but man, ugh. Gregorius Greg says he's a member for 5 months. I appreciate you, Gregorius Greg. Appreciate you. All right. So 3, 4, 7, 6 of the first 7 plays were drop back plays, non-running plays, non-design running plays. And then here we go. We finally get a run. Now, mind you, the Arizona Cardinals were one of the worst run defenses. If you watch behind enemy lines, I talked about how they give up 146 rushing yards per game. And that's why I thought the 49ers could beat them. On top of the fact that they don't really generate a major pass rush. But really, I felt like the 49ers could run the hell out of the ball if they stuck with it. Jordan Mason had 14 carries. So I don't know. And they had almost double the amount of dropbacks that they did total runs, or designed runs, rather. So you tell me, man. Arizona doesn't do a good job of stopping the run, and they don't consistently run the ball. Check out Purdy here. That guy did a good job getting on the inside of Purdy like that. So I think Purdy actually did a good job keeping him on that outside shoulder, and he just does a good job of recognizing the play and then ripping past him. Good play design here. Good blitz design. Look at this. So they mug up the middle here. They move their linemen. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? It's a good play design. They loop two players around. They blitz from the outside. They drop back into coverage. It's a very good play design and a good throw by Brock Purdy to deliver despite all of it. And again, though, offensive line doing a pretty good job again. All right? Offensive line's doing a pretty good job again. Despite all that craziness that happens, I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible people coming. And look at what they do with the front. This guy loops around. I think this guy loops around. This guy drops back in coverage. Purdy's able to hit his back foot. I can't not say his first name apparently tonight. Hits his back foot on what seems to be a 5-step drop, I believe, and is given time to hitch up and make a throw. I mean, that's you can't ask for any more out of the offensive line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Hit the back foot, hitches up. There you go. So offensive line does a good job. Brock Purdy does a great job delivering this ball, and Ayuk goes up and gets it. That's what it should look like. That's what it should look like. But again, if we're going to say the offensive line's a problem, we better be able to back that up. And there's nothing on film that shows it's a problem, and there's no stat that will tell you it's a problem. It's hearsay. It's low-hanging fruit because it's been a problem in the past and people believe it. If you just say it as if it's true, it ain't the case. Not this year. Not this year. It's just not. Doesn't mean it's perfect. But man, we're getting some good pass protection here. Now, again, listen, and that's fine. It may end up being a problem. Okay? That's totally possible, Z49er. But that doesn't mean it's a problem now. That doesn't mean we can blame it now. That doesn't mean it's not good now. We're talking about now. Now, if you're making a prediction it's going to be bad, then sure, it could be bad for sure. You might be right about that. I'm not here to tell you you're going to be wrong. I don't know the future. But dude, it's not bad now. And that's all that matters. It is not the reason for this offensive struggling now. It's way down the list. Way down the list. Bro, I wish they had Bucky Irving. Tampa's not going to trade him, by the way. Based off what? Bucket of chicken? Based off what? Where on film has it been bad in these breakdowns that we've done? What statistic shows that it's bad? You can't just say things. You got to come with proof, my G. I've been showing you guys film multiple times. This is the third offensive film breakdown that we've had. The third one. And the offensive line has been good in all three. And by every statistical, you know what? Wait, let's just talk about it now. Since we're on the conversation, let's talk about the offensive line, okay? Let's talk about the pressures, okay? And we're going to go from multiple different data points. So again, those of you that are triggered, you might want to tune out on this part because we're about to talk about it. Offensive line. PFF right now has Brock Purdy ranked dead last amongst starters in the NFL at a 25% allowed pressure rate and 15 total allowed pressures. Now, what does that mean, Jesse? You just said a lot there. What that means is 25% of the time he's pressured, he's the reason he's pressured. He's holding onto the ball too long. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's dead last in the NFL at this. He's the worst in the NFL when it comes to this statistics, not only from a percentage number, but from a hard number. Percentage and hard number, dead last out of all starting quarterbacks in the NFL, which means he's walking himself into pressures and sacks. All right. On the flip side of that, the offensive line ranks 5th in pressure rate. It's 71.7%, meaning 71.7% of the time that there's pressure on Brock Purdy, it falls on the offensive line. That is the 5th best in the NFL. Oh, we don't like PFF? Okay, that's fine. We don't have to like PFF. What about NFL.com? Do we like NFL.com? Let's talk about NFL.com. According to NFL.com, the 49ers have the 5th highest pressure rate in the NFL, which is not good. The 5th highest pressure rate, which means Brock Purdy is under duress. But that's despite them having the league's highest time to pressure at 3.02 seconds, which means the offensive line on average is giving Brock 3.02 seconds before they're giving up pressures, which means what? If they're the 5th highest in pressure rate, but they're giving more time to their quarterback than anybody else in the league before being pressured, that means Brock is holding on to the ball too long and taking unnecessary sacks and unnecessary pressures. NFL.com and PFF, in 2 different numbers that measure the same thing, are telling you so. Oh, but you listen, we don't like PFF or we don't like NFL.com. All right. We don't have to like them. What about ESPN? Do we like their stats? All right, let's talk about ESPN. What does ESPN have to say? ESPN has the 49ers ranked 6th in the NFL in pass block win rate as an offensive line. So in the passing game, the offensive line right now is ranked 6th best at pass protection in the whole NFL. So when we say the offensive line is terrible, and the reason Brock isn't doing what Brock is doing is because the offensive line isn't holding up, and oh my gosh, look at how much he's pressured. We're watching on film. That is not the case. And we have 3 different statistics that say that is not the case from 3 different sources. So at what point do we just say that's not true right now? It is not true. It's not. And I'm sure that we've got people out here with platforms that are saying it is true. And you know why they're saying it's true? For the same reason that you're saying it's true. Because in the past, it was true. But that doesn't mean it's true now. But when you say it's true, nobody's going to question you. Nobody's going to say, oh, gee, are you sure the offensive line's bad? Like, what are your stats? You know why they're not going to question you? Because they're used to the offensive line being bad. So that everybody just falls in line with the offensive line being bad as if that's a foregone conclusion. That's what's happening. And it's not true. It's not true by any statistical measure, and it's not true on film. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to hold up the rest of the year. Maybe they're buns next week going forward. That is possible. But through 5 weeks in the NFL season, the offensive line has not only been better than expected, but by every statistical measure when it comes to pass blocking, they are a top 10 and closer probably to a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. That's just the reality of the situation. PFF says it. NFL.com says it. ESPN says it. And film says it. They're good. They're doing a very good job of protecting Brock Purdy. So the take is old. It's an old take, and it doesn't hold water anymore. Dazza says, it's not the O-line. Brock Purdy's holding the ball too long. Yeah, no crap. But again, you can't criticize Brock or Kyle Shanahan without being a hater, having an agenda, whatever. It's like those two guys are off limits to everybody. We'll blame every defensive coordinator we have. We'll blame the special teams. We'll blame wide receiver separation. We'll blame Jordan Mason. We'll blame injuries. We'll blame the offensive line. No, who cares what our eyes tell us and what stats actually say that back up what our eyes tell us? But what we can't do is ever criticize those two. That's why the show is titled what it's titled. This is not for the faint of heart, people. It's not. Oh, you guys got me distracted and fired up. And thank you. By the way, thank you. Honestly, thank you for this. I know I'm like really like I'm coming across like I'm pissed off. I'm really not. I love debating and I love chatting with y'all and trying to debunk things and all of that. But the reality of the situation is, bro, I'm less than 2 days away from a major hurricane touching down right where I live. This is a good distraction right now. There's a good chance that I'm not going to have power to watch the game on Thursday. In fact, it's likely. So I'm likely not going to be able to watch the game. I'm likely not going to be able to stream the rest of the week after tomorrow because of power. And that's if I'm lucky, the power goes out. If I'm not lucky, a lot of bad things happen to where I live and the properties that I own. So this is a good distraction 2 days before potential chaos. And I want to thank you guys for that. Now, I mean everything I'm saying, and I'm passionate about it, but I do want to thank you for the distraction. I really appreciate y'all. All right, here's another drop back. Yeah. We're going play action, hitting our back foot, and a pocket to step up in. Where's the offensive line that's so terrible? Yeah, but listen, here's the thing. I want to be clear about this too, Gabe. I'm hopefully you're fine with me calling you Gabe, by the way, Gabriel. But I don't think I'm better than anybody. I don't think I'm smarter than anybody. Like, I just want to watch this with y'all. I want to form an opinion, and then I want to look at stats to see if it backs up those opinions and have good, genuine conversation. But I do feel like I'm pretty savvy in what I see, and I feel strongly about it enough to debate it tooth and nail. Okay. And so if you're going to come with an argument or a statement that contradicts mine, then you better be ready to back it up. And you better have hard evidence. You better be able to show me. You better be able to give me stats, show me on film, all of the above, not one or the other. You got to be able to show me everything because I'm coming prepared. That doesn't make me right. Does not make me right. But I promise you, I'm not going to lose a debate on something I feel strongly about because I'm underprepared for it. I'm ready. Like if I'm going to say something and do a whole hour plus breakdown of it and talk about it and be passionate about it, know that I've done my research. So you better come with something real serious to debunk it. And so far, the pass protection's been pretty damn good on these dropbacks. Deebo Samuel can't get separation. That is also true. That is also true. When they got down to the goal line, how many of you rooted for Garendo to get a touchdown? So at the end of the night when Grant went live, he had to do his Fernando, but say Garendo. How many of you were wishing for that? Because I know I was. Steve. That can't be your real name. There's no way your first and last name are both Steve. If so, there's something up. Your parents messed up, man. But no, thank you, man. He says, stay safe. You think it's some 40 chess by Kyle to force the drop back passing to see if Purdy is worth $60 million? I don't know. I feel like that's pretty stubborn to win games, but honestly, I wouldn't put a lot past Kyle Shanahan. I'm just being real with you. I feel like he does some crazy stuff. Thank you, Steve, for the donation. And thank you for the thoughts. I really appreciate it. These are our Brad. Hold on. I'm going to read this in a second. I want to understand it. Let's go back to this play. Because again, I think Brock Purdy does a good job with his anticipation here. Yeah, he does a good job again. This is when he's at his best, man. He hits this back foot, sees it, believes in it, and just makes the throw. And they get a completion. And I think some yak. Hit the back foot. Jennings isn't out of his break. He trusts what he's seeing. He throws the ball. Boom. We're 2 for 2 in those situations, by the way. And in both those situations, we get some decent yak afterwards. And again, the pass protection was good. Jason says, these are Brad and David's fans, 2 cucks and a cuckling. Yeah, I don't know, man. Listen. What I'm not in the game of is just taking shots at people for no reason. Those guys, I don't think have taken shots at me that I'm aware of. I definitely disagree with their opinions. And in fact, I told you guys when I was at the Rams game, David came up and introduced himself and was like, "Hey, man, I just want to say you make good content. Keep it up." So I don't have an issue with David. I vehemently disagree with David. I've met and talked to Brad at training camps. We've exchanged numbers. I don't think Brad's a bad guy. I disagree with Brad a lot. And I do feel like both those guys go pretty hard for the team. And Brock Purdy in particular, and that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm not telling them how to do their content. Both of them do this full time. I don't. And they rely on this for an income. And I think that they're going to run their platforms how they need to run their platforms. And I think just because we differ in football opinions doesn't mean that they're bad people or I need to take major shots at them. David, I am iffy about honestly as a person. I don't know what to think of him, but I don't think Brad's a bad person. JK Gamer says, "You Jesse, here for the support, brother. Go Cards. Appreciate you, man. And congratulations to your Cards, man." Gizmo Maltese says, "I get the feeling the O-line can't get a 3rd and short to extend drives. They can't close out games by running the ball. Do you see that on film?" No, I haven't seen that, but we'll watch this. I also think that they're just abandoning the run game at times. And I think we've seen that pretty early on in this game. I will say though, the 3rd and short thing, maybe, I don't know. I highly doubt this. I highly doubt that he is. You know how many years it takes to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu? I mean, there's a lot of work that goes in that. If that was the case, I'd be very, very impressed. Very impressed. Because I've trained jujitsu and mixed martial arts off and on since I was 17 and I'm 41. And I would say through the course of that 24 years, I've trained it more than I haven't. If he's a black belt, that would be very impressive. Very, very, very impressive. Meanwhile, film is happening. Sorry. Let's watch it. Let's watch the film. That's what we're here to do. Is that a pass protection breakdown? You tell me, where is the pass protection breakdowns happening? He's got time. In fact, Brock Purdy with his wheels, instead of rolling out right, probably with a defender here, a defender here, a defender here, a defender here, a defender over the top here, and a defender here, probably has a pretty good run lane. Yeah. Yeah, would you be mad if Brock Purdy took off here? I wouldn't. Or would you be mad if he had stepped up in the pocket and tried to make this throw if this safety didn't bite all the way down? Or tried to throw it to Debo across the middle? I wouldn't. Or Juice. I wouldn't have been mad at either of those options. I feel like bailing out of the backside of the pocket probably wasn't the play here. And if it is the play, that's fine. But it wasn't because the offensive line didn't do their job once again. Just saying. Right? Yeah, it was good coverage. But you know what it wasn't, Schultz? It wasn't bad pass protection. There wasn't not a running lane. Right? There wasn't not guys getting open late if he would have just stayed in the pocket and stepped up. Good throw there. Great throw. You know what else it was? Good pass protection. You getting the theme yet? Are you getting the theme yet? But actually, it was a very good throw by Brock. He finds it right between there, second window. Also, Ayuk, good job sitting down in the window. They were definitely on the same page this game, for sure. Now, I think this is the drive, right? The one drive where they score a touchdown out of the 6 where they get in the red zone. I think this is the one. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was. There you go. There you go. I don't know how many pass plays into this game we are. Maybe 15. I would say out of those 15, maybe I think once we've seen some decent pressure. Offensive line did a good job. They did a good job. Yeah, I think premature bailing, if you catch my drift, not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. It was. Hey, but hold on. Hold on. I feel like you're being facetious. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe you're not being facetious and maybe you actually mean this. But I actually, I genuinely thought it was a good pass. I know it was 8 yards. But if you are being facetious, I thought it was a good pass. Oh, you see that? You see that? Guess what? Guess what? Dropped by Kittle, by the way. But good pass protection again. Gosh, man. Kittle, dude, you got to catch that freaking ball. What is I'm going to nitpick for a second. Not nitpick because he dropped the ball. When you're running across the field, who catches the ball like this? So the ball's coming this way. Who goes like this? Sorry, that's not who goes like this to catch the ball. I'm pretty sure you want to go like this. Yeah? Yeah, you want to watch it in your hands and get your hands out in front of you? What is this? What is I'm catching the ball behind my head like this. What is you're what? That used to drive me nuts with Vernon Davis, man. I used to hate the way he would try to catch the ball with his body or his arms. Bro, get your hands in front of you and catch the ball. Get it out in front of you. Soft hands. Like your hands are this freaking big, man. Catch the ball. And you know Brock Purdy throws a good ball. You know Brock Purdy's not like just overpowering it into him. Like he's throwing a very catchable pass. Gosh, that drives me nuts. Like I get drops happen and concentration drops are annoying too. But dude, just as a professional, not having your hands in the right positioning is so inexcusable. Great run by Mason. My gosh, dude. Just that one stiff arm he has later in this game. Oh. Whoa. And he always falls forward still. James Foster says, why aren't they using Isaac in the pass game? He used to be a receiver. They could use him similar plays they do for CMC since JP isn't getting passes. Well, I think JP Mason's done a good job in the pass game as well. He's just not getting the chances, to your point. Garendo, certainly they could. I think the flip side of that is you don't want the defenses to key in on what's happening when he's out there. And if for some reason, if he's not good in pass protection and they can't trust him in there, then it's hard to put him on the field in third down situations when everybody knows he's going to go out for a route and that Brock's not going to be protected by a running back. Now, maybe on the flip side of that, you can bring him in on first and second down and go play action and use him in the passing game there, or bring him into the game and flank him out as a receiver. That's a possibility. Yeah. I'm with it. I'm definitely with it. Some good running lanes there. Good running lanes. Real OBJ says it's all the above, coaching plus QB plus O-line protection and wide receivers can't beat man coverage. Are you implying the O-line is top tier? You're quick to blame the QB, but not others. I'm not implying, sir. Let me be very clear. The offensive line right now, or ma'am, I guess you could be a ma'am. Whatever. I'm not implying. I don't want to mince words. The offensive line right now, by all statistical measures, is top 10 in the NFL and closer to top 5. I've literally gone through the statistics, and if you weren't around for that, you can go back and listen. But whether you're going by PFF, NFL.com, ESPN.com, they all say in pass protection, very, very good pass protecting O-line right now. And this is now the third time we've watched offensive film here. This is the third time the offensive line has done a very good job in pass protection. Now, I'm not saying it's all on the QB by any means either. That is not what I'm saying. I think schematically there are some issues. I've talked a little bit about those, being in shotgun and having 5-step drops, I think is absolute nonsense. I think the receivers at times have not lived up to expectation. Debo does have trouble separating. That is true. Kittle at times does as well. We just saw a Kittle drop. Brandon Ayuk has been hit and miss this season. Although he's been open, he has had some drops. This game, he was very, very, very good. So no, I'm not putting it all on Brock. But I'm also here to tell you that Brock this season has not been very good. Now, is he the main reason why they are losing? No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Now, is he a reason why this offense seems to be stuck in the mud, especially when it comes to the red zone? Yeah. No, he's certainly a part of that. When you're the quarterback of the team, you're going to take some of that. You're going to shoulder some of that. So hopefully we're past the implying stage, and I made myself very clear on my stance. All right, 3rd and 1, second quarter. Oh. Well, there were what was the penalty here on this one? I forget. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to a degree. I just think that it's too early to be losing like this. You know what I mean? Now, again, we're just pass protection. Let's judge the pass protection. Pretty good. Pretty good. Now, Brock does have to slide, and he does a good job doing that. We'll give him credit here as well. Because I think it's a McKivitz kind of beat to the inside here, and he just drives his guy all the way across the line. Oh, no, it was Kittle. But ultimately, he does a good job of keeping Brock clean. He's not letting the guy get straight to Brock. And the offensive line doesn't let anybody to Brock. So, again, we're like 20 throws into this thing, and we've seen the offensive line give up maybe one pressure. Maybe one. Yeah, I mean, that and the pick. Sir, and you can say both are fluky, but they did happen. They did happen. That's reality. But 1 for 6 in the red zone, level 7 isn't good. And congratulations to your Cardinals for pulling off the win, man. I mean, there's just no excuses. But again, play after play after play after. I mean, how many times do we have to see that the pass protection has been good? And how many stats do we have to throw out to show that the pass protection has been good all season long, man? Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. He's got those Fitbit steps, man. The Fitbit steps. He's got to get the Fitbit steps in. This is where I was like, come on, Garindo, score. Please score. So that way we can get the Grant Cohn Garindo after the game. It's all I could think about on this. It was this drive in particular. After he had the good run right here. Good cutback, good vision. Gets to his spot. It's like, man, we're going to see it right here. Garindo's going to score, man. Garindo's going to score. He didn't score, unfortunately. There's 34 again, that menace. A damn menace, 34. Gosh, man. Thorn in the side of the 49ers throughout this game, huh? No, I certainly can, and I have multiple times, but we're not doing that today. But you can go back to like my preseason rankings or whatever. I had him at number 10. Okay. This one was highly debated, so let's see what we think about it. A lot of people said that if Brock Purdy does a better job with ball placement here, Kittle scores. Let's see if we agree with that. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. We agree with that. Yeah, we agree with that. That ball's got to be out in front. We definitely agree with that. That ball placement's got to be much, much better. Kudos to Kittle, though, for not diving and potentially fumbling the ball out of the back of the end zone for a touchback. But this ball's got to be placed much better for sure. And if it's out in front of him, he scores. So I agree with that take. Yeah. Good take, Mark. I agree. I didn't catch that the first time through. Good catch. He pats the ball. He just throws it instead of patting it. He's able to get that ball there. However, I also want to say this: there is a guy there, so maybe he feels like although he probably could make that throw, but I think he's patting to try to get this guy off the launch point, and then that way he can get the ball around him. But that's not true either. Never mind. That's actually not true. Because it didn't work. And all he does is go for it. He just gives him more time to get into the pass lane. So I was trying to have a reason for it, but there is no reason. He shouldn't have patted it. You're right. You're right. You're right. I'm wrong. You're smart. I'm dumb. You're good looking. I'm ugly. Yeah. I mean, not a lot here. Maybe he has Jennings on this out. But I this is going back to week 2, by the way. Similar situation, right? Except for it was on 4th down instead of 3rd, and it was this right hash going left. I don't like out breaking patterns when the quarterback is on one hash and you're breaking away from him near the goal line. Because if the throw is made and if the placement isn't perfect, you're risking a pick six. You're risking for that ball to get jumped and taken to the house. Now, in week 1, Brock made the throw and it was incomplete and it wasn't a good decision. And I think here he doesn't make the throw. And I actually applaud the decision. I don't think he should have tried to make that throw because, in all likelihood, let's watch Jennings again. Yes, he creates separation, but dude, if he throws this ball anywhere behind, you got this guy sitting here and you got this corner that might be able to cut it off and house it. So I actually, maybe some people will nitpick him there for not making that throw. I'm not going to. I have zero issues with his decision to not make that throw. That's just me. Yeah, not a lot open. Could have hit his check down potentially, but zero issue with him taking off there. He hits the back of his drop. He has a clean pocket to step up into. And he has a running lane, and he decides to take the running lane. Now, he could have hitched up, and he could have hit Mason. Sure. But zero issue, especially if he's looking to the left and he doesn't feel like he has time to get to that check down. Take off and run and protect yourself. No issue with that play. Did you somebody say BA was open there? Where's BA at? Am I tripping? Did I not see it? I don't think BA was open. Let's look at where he's looking to. This is the other thing that we have to be cognizant of. Where is Brock Purdy looking? Right? Because we're going to get guys opening up potentially. But if he's not looking to that side or on that part of the progression, like, you can't see the whole field at once. You just can't. Yeah. I don't. No. No. Literally, like, BA is running a clear out route. He's like not even looking for the ball, it doesn't seem. And maybe you're talking about another play, but if we're talking about that play, I don't see it. Although I don't know what he's looking at either. I mean, let's look at the stripe of his helmet. I mean, what is he looking at BA? I mean, it kind of seems like he is. Either that or he's just trying to manipulate a defender so he can drop it off underneath. I don't know. I don't know. But BA to me does not at all seem like he's running an actual route with the intention of catching the football. Good clean pocket. Good throw by Brock. Good throw by Brock here. Very good throw. Nice tight coverage. Puts the ball right where it needs to be. And also IU, good strong hands. I mean, this is something that similar situations this year. Ayuk has dropped the ball or the defenders swatted the ball away, and it's been an issue, but not this time. Brock puts it where it needs to be. The O-line does a good job protecting, and Brandon Ayuk does a very good job having strong hands and making a play on the ball. All three phases were very good right there. What do you guys think? You think that's the throw that he's got to hit? You guys tell me in the chat. You guys think it's a throw he's got to hit? Debo was wide open. Debo was wide open, but again, he's not looking over there. Like, you got to remember, like, pre-snap, he's making a decision. Is he starting right or is he starting left? And he's chosen on this play to start right. Now, if he doesn't like what he sees, he can work back to the backside. But I'm not going to crush him for Debo being wide open here. This is he literally can't see it. He's on the front side of the progression. He can't see with his head this way that Debo's open. Right. Now it's unfortunate because if he was on this side, maybe he would have had a walk-in touchdown, but that's just not the way it worked out. So I'm not going to crush Brock for that. But is that a throw that he's got to make? I don't know. I thought he was an elite processor. Yeah, I mean, but to be fair, that's kind of been the point. 30, they're 34 again, by the way. 34 again on the play. This guy's everywhere. But um that's kind of been the point. I mean, we gave the statistics. We talked about it in week 2. The processing has not been elite this year from him, unfortunately. And that has been his superpower. You know what I mean? Like that has been what he's been really good at. But this year, it just hasn't been there consistently. I mean, it's been there at times for sure, but it has not been there consistently. I don't know that that's a processing issue, by the way, right there. That certainly could have been, right? This is what happened in the Vikings game a ton. He sees it. He goes to throw it. He pumps. And then in the Vikings game, what would happen was he would pump and then he'd get off that player and nobody else is open. And so now he's panicking and then he takes a sack. Now here, luckily, he pumps, doesn't make the throw. Okay. He comes back to his left and there is somebody open and he's able to make the throw because the pass protection held up really, really like better than what it needs to. Better than what it needs to. The pass protection has already done its job when he hits his back foot and he goes to throw the football. Anything on top of that is like the cherry on top. Luckily, they do have a cherry on top and they give him plenty of time, even though he tried to run almost, and the offensive line still gives him time to run and then set his feet and still make a throw. And he does a good job making the throw, right? And playing within organized chaos. But this throw to Jennings is a throw that last year he doesn't hesitate on. And in the Vikings game, this same type of throw cost him over and over and over and over and led to sack after sack after sack after sack. Cryptic says, I don't know if it's an excuse, but did he get stronger in the offseason? I think he definitely got stronger. Do you think he's off because he hasn't adjusted to his new strength? Sounds lame, but you think about it. Sure. Yeah. I mean, listen, I am open to all possibilities. Now, I don't know. I don't think that's the case, but I'm open to all possibilities because what we're seeing from Brock in this 5-game sample size is not what we're used to seeing from Brock Purdy. It's just it hasn't been who he has been through to this point. Right? Like I've talked about Brock and I've said some things about Brock where I'm like, listen, I don't think he's as elite of an accurate thrower is what people make him out to be. I feel like his ball placement is probably a little above average, but it's not elite. And people talk about completion percentage and stuff like that. So I felt like that was something he could work on. But one thing that I think we can all agree on, that his anticipation, which comes from knowing what you're going to do with the ball pre-snap, understanding what's happening post-snap, and making those quick, decisive decisions, he's elite at. He's been elite at. And as a result of him being elite at that up until this year, all the things that bugged me about him in college, where I thought he played hero ball and he ran around too much and he made boneheaded decisions, those things were gone from his game. Now, there were times where it was like, Brock, I don't know. But for the most part, it had been erased from his game. So if we want to say, hey, maybe he put on too much muscle and he's getting used to his new frame, maybe that's it. Maybe he's trying to rely on the big play. Maybe he's pressing because certain players aren't there and he feels like he has to do more than what he actually has to do. Maybe CMC just opens up the game that much for him and makes his life easier. Maybe Kyle Shanahan is not giving him plays he's comfortable with. I'm open to all possibilities. But what I'm not open to is this alternate universe where less than a week ago, people are saying and putting out stats side by side where Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Because it's not true. He's not even playing to the best of his ability right now. And outside of one game versus the Rams, he's really not playing good football for a majority of this season. He's not. Now, why that is, I don't know. But I can tell you what's happening, what I'm seeing. I can't tell you the reason, but I can tell you what I'm seeing and how it's causing him issues and how it's not what we've seen from Brock. That much is clear. I can also say that we have a large enough sample size where, yes, this stretch is concerning, but it doesn't mean that this is who he is. Like, I have all the confidence in the world that Brock Purdy can break out of this. If he can hone into whatever it is that is causing this, I think Brock Purdy can get back to who he was before and be a pretty damn good quarterback. But I think if you're upset, it's somebody like myself pointing out the obvious and you don't want to see it and you're frustrated with it, then that's on you. But it's the reality of the situation right now. And it's also the reality of the situation that the O-line has been pretty damn good. And I could say this too. This showed up all in the Vikings game. But his footwork right now at times, and I haven't seen it a lot today, by the way, or on this film that we're watching. I saw it a ton in the Vikings game, and I talked about it all week long. But this is an example of it where his footwork is super lazy, super lackadaisical. Brock Purdy in the past is like, hit the back foot. It's not there. Hitch up. Look to the next read. Hitch up. Look to the next read. Okay, time's running out in my head. Nobody's open. I'm taking off and running, and I'm doing that with confidence. But everything he did, he was so deliberate. Hit the back foot. Make the read. Make the throw. Anticipate. Hitch, run. Hitch, scramble. This, I don't recognize this guy, man. What is this lazy footwork? Flat-footed. If he's hitching, he can hitch up into a clean pocket and wait for guys to get open. I'm not blaming him for these guys not being open. That is factual. But Brock Purdy last year is not doing any of this. He's not panicking in the pocket when he has a clear step-up lane. In fact, Brock Purdy last year probably hitches up, and throws a freaking seed into the back of the end zone, and then does this or the vein thing or whatever the hell he wants to do, and balls out, and everybody's like, oh, dude, if Patrick Mahomes made that throw, everybody would jock it. How come Brock Purdy doesn't get the love? This guy's elite. That's what we would be talking about, because Brock Purdy last year probably makes it happen, man. But this flat-footed, not ready to throw, poor base, double clutching, it's just not, it's not who I've seen until this year on a regular basis. And it's a problem. It's a problem. Yeah. And you know what? Statistically, it all fell apart for Brock. It all fell apart for Brock. And for sure, yes, he gets pushed into his face. But he's got a step up lane. He hits his back foot. And now, again, he hits his back foot and he hitches. He has time for those things. Now, these guys aren't open. The offensive line has already done their job. Okay. They've given him a drop back to hit his back foot. They've given him a hitch up. And now there's some pressure. The offensive line has done their job. Now, these guys have not gotten open. That I will agree with. But even though there is pressure here, you're telling me that you haven't seen Brock Purdy a million times just sidestep this and calmly, casually run that into the end zone or casually make a hell of a throw towards the backside of the end zone? You're telling me you haven't seen that happen? Or casually step out the back and roll out to the left and throw across his body and do some amazing crap? Come on, man. I don't know who this flat-footed panic guy is, but it ain't Brock. It ain't the Brock that I've seen. And again, if you want to put that one on the offensive line, go ahead. That's fine. Let's agree that the offensive line was awful on that play, even though I think it was more on the receivers not getting open and the offensive line did their job. But we've seen play after play after play after play. There is no reason for Brock Purdy to not feel confident that he's getting protected. Because in this game, he has been protected very, very well up front, including this play. But also, let's take note of this. Let's not let Kyle Shanahan off the hook for a second, huh? Let's not let Kyle off the hook. What are we at? How many timeouts do the 49ers have here? One. So with 16 seconds left, the 7-yard line. Yeah. I mean, listen, you probably throw 3 times here. That's probably reality. You could run it, but 16 seconds and 1 timeout. Now, if you got 2 timeouts, you should probably run the ball once. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a situation like earlier where we started the game with 7 out of 8 plays being a frickin' pass. But I will say this. Boy, oh boy. Are some of these routes long developing? I mean, you've got Jennings running like a stick nod out. You got Kittle running an out. I mean, these are some long developing plays right now. You got nothing quick. You got no you know what play Harbaugh used to run all the time that I absolutely loved in situations like this, where he'd stack like a tight end and 2 wide receivers, and he would just run these 2 guys off into the end zone and then a slant behind it and make the throw easy. I'd love to see something like that right about now. I guess it was probably a Greg Roman play, right? He called the plays. But I mean, these are just long developing double moves. I mean, you're asking the offensive line to really hold up here. And they do. They do. They do a good job. But I just feel like schematically, you're not really doing the offense any favors here. That's just me. And again, yeah, see. Again, the offensive line does a good job. I think the play here probably should have been the slant. I don't know what he sees on the outside. But the only guy that got open was Ayuk, ironically. The guy that can't separate. I'm being facetious. But that was really his only throw that he could have made there. These guys just aren't getting open, man. And you got long developing double move routes. Like, Kyle Shanahan schematically, I'll put that whole whatever that was on Kyle. I don't put that on Brock. He had the one play where he was flat-footed and he was doing some weird stuff, but even then nobody was open. Schematically, I felt like all three of those plays were dog water. So I think the offensive line did a good job. I think Brock did a good job. I think the receivers could have gotten better separation, but I also think that schematically that was a trash sequence of plays. Now, again, offensive line's doing a good job. And we've seen this most of the game, man. And that ball's got to be better placed. That's got to be a better throw. How long have we been going? Damn, almost 2 hours already. Wow. I know. Ayuk dropped it. You got to catch it. It hit his hands. Listen, that ball's got to be placed better. I don't care. That's not a good throw. He's got a clean pocket, man. You've got to get that out in front of him. You got to put it on his numbers. You can't throw that ball there. God, how long has it been since they ran the ball? Like, holy crap. Thanks, Josh. I haven't seen you in forever, bro. I hope you're doing good. God, doesn't it feel like it's been forever since they've ran the football? Jeez. I'd like to see the film review coaching Pee Wee. That's all about the Jimmys and Joes. Facts. You know what's funny about that, Steve-O, is when I was coaching my son's football team, I did have my wife and one of the quarterback's mom from two different angles record the game, and then we watched film together. It was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Now, again, the offensive line is holding up and has been the whole game for the most part, man. The whole game. Okay, listen, there's 0% chance that this is happening. That's not happening. I know. I know. I am a nut. I'm not going to lie. I am a bit of a nut. But it was a lot of fun. Oh, my bad. Joshua says, nice video review. It's not the O-line. Thoughts and prayers for you and your family this week. Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that. Real OBJ says, I agree the entire offense is the problem, but the bigger issue is the run defense and tackling. These problems stem from last year. Will you also watch the run D? Not today, not tonight. I will on my own, and I'll probably tweet out some opinions, but probably not this week. I usually choose one or the other, offense or defense. I usually choose. So Dazza says, I don't get how we can suck in the red zone when Mason is the second best rusher in the league by yards and is averaging over 5 yards a carry. I think it's a multitude of different things. I mean, I think we've seen it, right? We've seen Brock not pull the trigger. We've seen Brock not place the ball well. We've seen Kyle Shanahan call absolute dog trash plays. We've seen receivers not separate. I mean, we've really seen it all, other than running the ball consistently when they get down there and bad O-line play. We haven't seen those things, but the other three things we've definitely seen. And so it begs the question, like, if Kyle's not dialing it up the way that he should be, Brock's not seeing the field the way that he should be, and the receivers aren't separating the way that they should be, why the hell are you passing every play, it seems like, in the red zone? I don't understand it. Dude, hold on. Great pass protection. He just waits too long on it, man. Now he's looking to the left. He knows Kittle's at his outlet. See? Listen, if he just throws that ball from his spot, he probably completes it. But instead he tries to run forward. He sees it. He saw it back here. This is what I'm talking about, man. Now, again, most people, it was a tip pass. It just happens. It's not on Brock. No, it's 100% on Brock. Throw the ball right there, man. Why? You tell me how many times on film we saw this last year. Not a lot. Not a lot. It's all over his film this year. What is going on? And it's all over his film when he's being protected at the utmost level. Like, there is no pressure. He's got all the time in the world. He's looking right at George. He sees it. Why does he not throw the ball? Why does he take 3 steps forward, doesn't have a set base, and throws the frickin' ball here, man? Norman, there was things on his film last year, a lot, that people were pissed about that I talked about. I don't recall seeing this stuff, though. I don't. I recall seeing average ball placement. I recall seeing some bad decisions at times. I don't recall this guy that is just so hesitant to make decisions, man. I don't at all. I don't remember seeing that. And maybe I'll have to go back and watch. Maybe this is a thing that started after the Ravens game. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it, though. I don't know what this is. But it's an unforced error. And again, I'm not putting everything on Brock, but at this point, what was the score? There's 12 minutes left in the game and you're up 13. Okay. You're turning the ball over with good field position. You're literally, and the same thing happened last week, by the way, where you were up 10. Last week was almost worse because you were driving, about to just put the game away, and he throws an uncalled for pick and allows New England to hang around. Now, luckily, New England is buns. They have zero offense, and so it didn't matter. But the pick last week kept them in the game for no reason at all. And this pick kept them in the game for no reason at all. I mean, they don't have to gain a single inch, and they're kicking a 42-yard field goal. You understand? It's not about replacing Brock. It's just about he's got to play better, man. Like he's got to fix this. He's got to fix this. And as long as Brock is inexpensive, by the way, bro, I mean, at this point, you're getting more than what you're paying for. I don't care. You're still getting starting level quarterback play, even when he's at his worst. He's still a starter in this league. You're getting what you're paying for. The question is, if this doesn't change, you can't pay this guy $60 million, man. You can't do it. I'm sorry. It's just... And so if the question is, hey, if this is who he is all of a sudden, if the question is, okay, do you pay Brock $60 million or do you just like spin the wheel and hope and pay somebody nothing and start all over? What do? You pay somebody nothing and you start all over, because you can't pay this $60 million. Now, if Brock can get back to his old form and do it without CMC on the field and do it without all these weapons, because that's his new reality once he gets paid $60 million, then pay him, I guess, right? Like, go ahead, pay him. But, dude, the sample size at this point is growing and growing and growing. And every week that this continues to happen is a growing data point in a small career. You guys realize outside of the Rams game, he has 3 touchdowns and 5 turnovers? Did you guys know that? So in the other 4 games outside of the Rams game, he has 3 touchdowns and 5 turnovers. He has a turnover in 4 consecutive games. He's gone 8 games without having at least 2 touchdowns with 0 turnovers. Like, he's either like throwing 1 touchdown or none and not turning the ball over, or he's throwing multiple touchdowns and turning the ball over, sometimes multiple times. Like, it just seems like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Something's happened. And maybe the league's just caught up to him and he's got to adjust back. And so we'll give him time. We'll give him the grace. I mean, he has all season, right? He has all season to figure this out. And frankly, he has next season, to be honest with you. The 49ers don't have to pay him this season. They can watch it again next season, and almost assuredly some of these more weapons will be stripped away and you can take another stab at assessing him. That's a possibility too. So I'm not saying like you can't give him time. He's still young in his career, but like, this muddies up the waters, right? Like, if CMC was out and he had just played phenomenal all the way through CMC being out, and then you add that onto what he did last year and what he did the year before, then it's like, okay, yeah, sometimes like Trent Williams was out and it didn't look great, but look, CMC was out and it looked really good the whole time. Like, that overrides what we saw last year. And we clump it all together and it's like, we have this clear sample of a really good quarterback the whole time. But at the very least, what this does is it muddies the waters and says, I'm not saying this is who he is, because we have a sample size where this is who he is not. But now we don't have CMC in the lineup and it got a little squirrely for a majority of it. Let's watch it for another year. Can we watch it for another year before we make the decision? I think at the very least it should do that for you. Now, again, okay, couple things here. One, when Brock has been on time in this film, he's completed passes. He hits his back foot, decision is made, He makes the throw. He completes it. Also, the ball placement was not good here. But it doesn't matter. It wasn't a turnover, right? But the point is almost all the passes he's completed today have been when he's hit his back foot, he's had a decision made, and he's thrown the football. Almost every single one of them, which is what he did so great last year. Did Garindo miss that? Should he have cut that back? Let's check it out. No, he did a good job. He did a good job. All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. Hold on. This was a long play, folks. It's his drop. Doesn't like it. Steps up. Gets some quick pressure off the edge. Now, I would say the offensive line, probably not their best rep here. We can put something on the offensive line here. He hits his drop and he's facing pressure. Okay. That's fair. Bails out, no problem. Does some crazy stuff. Gets a first down. All right, Brock. No problem with that. One of the few times today the offensive line has not done a really, really good job. And you did do a really, really good job. You had a couple guys that maybe you could have thrown the ball to, but I think you probably made the right decision to not throw across your body with hands in your face. And you did a hell of a job athletically getting away from pressure and turning it into a positive play. That was a good rep. And I think he made good decisions along the way and did a hell of a job evading pressure. There you go. There you go. Oh, yeah, I remember that play when he got clotheslined. My gosh. Jeez. Now, the question becomes, in a situation like this, how close is close enough to rely on Mitch Wishnowsky to kick a field goal? I think we're probably there, right? You're at the 18-yard line. I think you can probably rely on him to kick from here, right? I think this is probably okay. I would say anything outside the 20, you're probably not feeling great about. So you're on the 19-yard line. Yeah, I think you can probably trust him to make this kick. Or at least confident enough to attempt it. Now, whether he makes it or not, that's a whole different story. But we do have to remember at this point, we are without Mitch Wishnowsky. Jake Moody. And if we weren't comfortable before, we are now. We are now. Because now we're on the 15-yard line and we're right up the gut. I think we feel okay here. So we get a first down, right? And then we run the ball. So we're inside the 15, and then we take a stupid penalty, which puts us back around the 19. We're still feeling okay about it. All right. I think that was on Jawan, if I'm not mistaken. All right? But we're still in a spot. We're still in a spot. Not ideal, but we're still in a spot. This right here, absolutely, unequivocally, cannot happen. Cannot happen. It can't. And so now you're taking 3 points off the board, or attempted 3 points, because Brock had a little pep in his step a couple plays ago and felt good about it. And now he's running around for no frickin' reason and not throwing the ball away and taking an awful frickin' sack that takes you out of field goal range. You think they could have used this 3 points? Probably. Probably. Now, look, I would say this is probably the third play in all of the game of the 30 plus pass attempts that the offensive line causes a little bit of pressure here. But that doesn't mean that you have to run around like a frickin' Looney Tune and lose another 7 yards. Like, come on, man. Ugh. And what happened on that play? What down was that? Sorry. 3rd and 23. Okay, so you just took a big sack. So now it's on you to deliver a pass here and get you back in field goal range, right? That ball had to have gotten tipped. There's no way that that ball just died like that. It had to have been a tip. Yeah, okay, good. But there you go. And now you go for it on 4th and 23 because you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a kicker. You didn't have a kicker, man. And you don't feel comfortable outside of the 20 taking the kick, which is fair. But how much did they lose by? They lost by 2, right? What was the score? What was the final score? What was the final score? 49ers, Cardinals. 24-23. You don't think they could have used the field goal? And this is the final drive? No, there might be 2 more drives. Oh, yeah. We haven't seen the Mason fumble yet. That's right. That's this drive. Mason fumble. So you take 3 points off the board, probably, because you take a dumb sack on one drive. Then on this drive, you fumble the ball again in field goal range. Either one of those, and you win the game. Either one of those, and you win the game. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And the crazy thing is even after all of that, you still had a chance to win the freaking game. You had 3 chances, and 2 of them you got all the way down in perfect position. I know he fumbles, but holy crap, dude. What a stiff arm. My gosh, man. What a G. Jeez, man. Ugh. Red zone woes, man. Red zone woes. You had 2 red zone trips, in your final 3 possessions and you come away with, let alone 0 points, 0 attempted points because of ball protection issues and playing hero ball, man. That was a hell of a run, though. Man, Debo's only reception really did come on that first drive on like a screenplay, didn't it? My gosh, dude. You guys are going at it in the chat, huh? Let's be respectful. Let's be respectful. There's no reason for it. It's just football takes. It's fine. It's not that serious. Trey Lance isn't on the team anymore. It'll be okay. We don't need to be personal. One of the rare play action plays. One of the rare play, and look at that. Plenty of protection, and you complete the pass. Kyle, are you taking notes? Play action works sometimes. Ayuk had himself a day, though, huh? Ayuk had himself a day. All right, let's get to the freaking fumble already. I'm over it. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see. Let's see the pass play. Good decision by Brock here not to pull the trigger. Runs around a little bit. It's okay. But he gets rid of the ball. And if it's not there, throw the ball away. Throw the ball away. That's okay too. It's okay to throw the ball away. You're outside of the tackle box. The last drive, he should have thrown the ball away. He'd have been fine if he had done that. All that other stuff was unnecessary. I think he likes to roll left so often when things break down that when it's not there and they take that away, it feels like that's when he kind of like gets a little frantic. Oh, okay. But he stayed cool, calm, and collected there. That was actually a really good decision by him. Really good decision by him. Is this the play? No. This isn't the play, is it? No, they get a first down. Oops. My bad. Juice will kick. I honestly, did anybody else have an issue with that? Did anybody that watched the game, did anybody else have an issue with that? That Juice, the moment that Moody's hurt, is like chucking and jucking. It's like, oh yeah, man, this is so funny. I'm gonna kick. Just having a good old time on the sideline. Does anybody else find that weird? I feel like that was a little weird. Oh, good job, Juice. Oh, first down. Your first down. Good job, kiddo. Again, good pass protection. Also, the pass protection can only hold up so long, and Purdy does a good job of having a clock in his head and realizing, like, all right, I've been sitting here for a while, but look at, he's not flat-footed. He's keeping his feet mobile, allowing him to make plays like this. It's very different when you do that versus when you don't. When you just get to the top of your drop and stand flat-footed, it's impossible to make plays like this regularly. Does a good job here. Back-to-back plays. I felt like he did a good job navigating in the pocket and doing what he needed to do. Also, of the 40-something dropbacks, the offensive line is held up for 95% of them and done a good job, as I suspected they did. Was that Juice's High George moment? Listen, Mason can't fumble that ball. I don't blame anybody for why he fumbled, but that was a little bit of a High George moment, I feel like, from Juice. Because he's got this guy sealed off. And he just lets him run right by. And then that's the guy who makes a play on the football. I feel like when this team's been at its best, it's taken so much pride in things like this. Like, how many times have you seen Kittle on film just drive somebody into the ground for the F of it? Or Jennings or Ayuk. And they just love it, man. They feed off of it. This right here, man. Look at Kittle got blown up too, low key. Oh. Not very often Kittle gets blown up like that. Is that Buda Baker? The Buda Baker Kittle battle is always a fun one, but he got blown up by Buda Baker. My gosh. But yeah, Juice. Hi, George. Now, Mason can't fumble that ball. Still can't fumble that ball. That's factual. But Juice could have also held that block or gone back to it. You know what sucks? Is when you watch and you know the outcome, and you know the outcome is not what you desired. That sucks. Oh, look. Brock Purdy hits his back foot, has a decision made, and completes another pass. Every single time, man. Every time when he does that, he completes a pass. Almost every single time. Outside of like 2 passes that were outside the numbers to start the game. But outside of that, dude, if he hits that back foot and throws the ball, he's completing the pass for the most part. He's completing that pass. That's when he's at his best. How much time is left in this game here? 1:18. You got plenty of time. Plenty of time. You're only down a field goal. You just got to get inside the 20. And this is the play that we started with. I already went over it, but for those of you that are just joining, I'll go over it again because this is the first play that we showed to start this whole thing off. A lot of people killed Mason because they feel like he let a free rusher through. That is not the case at all. Not whatsoever. You have 2 guys blitzing. Mason takes the inside pass rusher, which is what he's supposed to do. And then this other guy runs free. He had to make a choice, and he made the right decision based off of what he's taught. The inside, the guy closest to the center is the guy that is supposed to have the fastest track to the quarterback. And so you always block that guy. And that's what he did. Unfortunately, you can't take them both. So we can't blame Mason. We can't blame Mason for it. So we got that out the window. We can blame two things for it, though. Well, actually, we can blame three things. One, Brendel with the protection call doesn't see the blitzer, doesn't call the right protection. Two, Kyle Shanahan schematically calling a 5-step drop out of a shotgun makes zero sense. Three, Brock Purdy not realizing he's hot. Usually when you're hot, that's on you, the quarterback, and he's looking way downfield. He doesn't make the dump off. But four, and honestly, this is probably the right answer, 34, who's made multiple plays throughout this game, was just the best player on the field during that play. And when you see it from this other angle, nothing could be more true. I mean, he just makes a hell of a play. Look at the timing of his blitz compared to the snap. I mean, sometimes players just make plays, man. And 34, yes, Brendel should have called the protection. Yes, Kyle Shanahan shouldn't have had Brock in a 5-step drop. Yes, Brock should have realized he's hot and thrown to Kittle. All those things are true. Also, though, look at when this ball snapped and look at the timing of this blitz. And not only that, he loops around George Kittle, who's in his way. I mean, dude, he just makes a hell of a play, man. He just makes a hell of a play. He makes a hell of a play. I don't know what to tell you. So there you go. There's the film review. There's this guy again. I'm going to tell you one last time. That little triangle sign means greater than. I know you're trying to tell me Cope because I was wrong about Trey Lance, but what you're saying actually is Trey is greater than Cope. We've done this before. We've done this on a live before. You've got to do a better job, man. You can't be that dumb. I'm telling you how to troll me. You've got to do better. Daza says, here, let me remove this. Let's go back to full screen. Okay. Daza says, our O-line is built for run blocking. We have a very good running back. Punch it in when in the red zone, or if not, their option out and pass to the screen. So option out of the run play and throw a screen pass. Wow, I butchered that. I like where your head's at, though. Dave says, fire sale, keep 85, 24, 15, and maybe 11. And Mordecai, just a Mordecai, he's a jam. Dave Barclay says, lots of opportunity. Lyle just likes to poop his pants. Oh, that was another stat. Since we're speaking of stats, speaking of stats, here's another stat for you. It's another one. So, out of all the coaches in 49er history, Kyle Shanahan has 10 more blown 10-point leads than any other coach in 49er history. Kyle Shanahan, since taking over for the 49ers, at some point, any point in the game, if he's had a 10-point lead, has blown 18 10-point leads at any point in a game. 18. Second most were two coaches. Bill Walsh had 8 of them. Nolan also had 8 of them. Mariucci had 6, and Shaw had 6. Kyle Shanahan has 18 blown 10-point leads, which is more than double Bill Walsh, who coached for a very long time, and Mike Nolan, who was awful, but didn't coach for a really long time. So both those guys had 8, Kyle Shanahan has 18. Real OBJ says, do you think Kyle will ever let his QBs audible? I find this interesting because Kyle, if you listen to what Kyle, how he tells the story, Tim Kawakami interviewed him this offseason and asked him, I wish he would have followed up because I thought it was a good question, a good starter, but there was a follow-up to it. He asked about calling protections and letting the quarterback do that, maybe letting Brock do that. And Kyle said, "Oh, I've always let my quarterbacks do that. They just trust." Basically, he arrogantly said, "They trust that I'm an amazing play caller and I'm going to get it right, and so it's just easier for them to follow the play as designed." The follow-up question to that should have been, "What about audibles?" Because if Tim had followed up, then we would have known what Kyle says about audibles. Because what Kyle does, what we know he does, is he gives a run play and he gives a pass play. And the quarterback has the autonomy to can out of the run or the pass play into the other option that is given pre-snap. What they cannot do is audible to whatever they want. Now, is that because Kyle doesn't allow them to, which I assume is the case? Or is that available to them the way that calling their own protections is available to them, according to Kyle, and the quarterback is choosing not to grasp a hold of that? I don't know. I wish he would have followed up because I think the original question was really good. Dave says, Lyle blows and doesn't deserve our team. F him. Jeez, man, that's harsh. Dave says, when I seen Juice yucking it up, I said, fire him. Dude, I don't agree with how rough you go on Kyle. I don't think we're to the fire point yet still. Now, I don't know that I don't think we're going to win a Super Bowl with Kyle, but I don't think I'm ready to fire him per se. But this pissed me off, dude. Him laughing and having a good time when Moody had just gotten injured was so dumb. RS says Mason fumbled because Ronnie Bell was in the game. Nice. Dazza says they looked old, slow, and disinterested. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's part of it too. Maybe they are long in the tooth. I don't know. Here's the great thing. After all of this, after all the whole thing that we just watched, and as bad as it was, and as bad as it has been, they have the opportunity to win on Thursday, put this behind them, and then they've got to beat Kansas City. They got to put back-to-back games together. They do. They have to win back-to-back games at some point. You can't beat Seattle and then lose to Kansas City and be right back into it, and then beat Dallas and then go into your bye week or whatever. They have to win back-to-back games, right? But it starts with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, if they beat Seattle and beat Kansas City, all of a sudden we feel good about this team again. You likely beat Dallas. You go into the bye week on a 3-game win streak. You're atop the division most likely. And then you get some rest and you can come out of it and feel really good about yourself. But I'm just saying it right now, if they lose to Seattle, this season is over. It's done. It's done. They may make the playoffs. They may somehow scratch and claw and make their way to the playoffs, but the goal is to win a Super Bowl. They lose to Seattle and fall to 0-3 in the division and 0-4 in the conference. It's a wrap for the 49ers. So Thursday is a must win. And I think they're going to win. Now, I've picked them in every game this year, and have been wrong 3 times. So for whatever that's worth, but I think they beat Seattle. And I think we feel much better if they do. Now, they got to beat Kansas City and follow it up. But if, and this is a big if they can do that and ride a 3-game winning streak into the bye week, we feel okay about this team. So I'm not saying it's over. It starts with Thursday, but time is of the essence. Okay. They got to win these 3 games. Cryptic says, you had a good video about Gronk calling us out. Do we have any dogs on this team? No one challenges each other. and just accepts it. Nobody is pissed. Yeah, I think, it's interesting because right after that, Jawan Jennings kind of brought the dog out in him. But I talked about this 2 years ago. And I don't know if I actually ever said it here. I know I said it in a Twitter space and I got a lot of pushback there. But I said the 49ers were missing a player that is going to grab a teammate by the face mask in a crucial situation, hold them accountable, chew them out a little bit, but ultimately hold that player accountable and just fire them up. 49ers don't have that. I think they have good leaders. I think Fred Warner is a good leader. I think they have a lot of guys that lead by example and are good at pregame speeches and probably have good conversations throughout games, but they don't have that guy that is almost intimidating to the rest of the team and will get in your face and let you know that you need to do better. They have a bunch of what it feels like is passive leaders. Good leaders, but they are passive when it comes time to hold people accountable in a bad situation. I think Bosa says what he says in front of the media. I wouldn't be surprised if Bosa says none of those things in team meetings. I could be wrong about that, but I wouldn't be shocked. Cryptic says, that was the one I just read. Thank you, Cryptic. Appreciate you. Dave says, our team celebrates before a win with Lyle. Loser. Jeez, man. Dazza says, you're surprised Juice was laughing. He did the same when Lance was being stretchered off. No, that's true. I shouldn't have been surprised. I'm sure he was telling his teammates that they're back to 49er football, like he did then too. Dave Barclay says 7-10 if we're lucky. Calling it now. Fire Lyle. Listen, if they go 7-10, then I'll probably be on your side of the fire Kyle Shanahan. But right now I'm not yet there. So, anyways, y'all, thank you so much for the support. Tomorrow I'll be back around 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm doing Behind Enemy Lines. And then that very well may be my last show for the week. For those of you that don't know, I live in Tampa. As of now, we're supposed to have a very high-end hurricane that's going to rip through our state and hit us directly. The eye of the storm will be going right over my house. So if that is the case, chances are I may not even be able to watch the game on Thursday. And I'll be without power for sometimes it's up to 10 days when these things happen. So it might be a while before you see me again after tomorrow. So I appreciate everybody supporting. Hopefully you're there tomorrow. And if you're not, I hope you have a blessed few days. I hope the Niners win and get the job done and you guys can feel great towards the tail end of the week. And I hope that everything goes well here. And if I do lose power, it's restored quickly and I don't have any major damage and I'll be back soon. But there is the possibility that this might get ugly. So just want to let you guys know. Dave says, stay safe, Jess, for real. Love you, bud. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Love you too, man. Appreciate all of you. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then after that, might be a while. All right, y'all. Much love. Peace.